Hello again. This is Mary Harkness. I am an ecology data manager and project manager with NatureServe based in Longmont, Colorado. First, thank you again for your work on the IVC group map review process. Again, your review is critical to improving the map, and we're deeply grateful for everyone's contributions on this. This video is part of our series of training videos for reviewing the group range maps using the online group map review tool. This video is the second of two videos on the supporting materials that go with the online review tool. In this second video, we'll walk through one major component of the supporting materials and how to access it. And that is the IVC hierarchy in the Excel workbook. This is the Excel workbook that was also shown in the first video, where we focused on the subnational group map review tracking tabs. So for the PDF maps and those tracking tabs, see the part 1 video on the supporting materials. The IVC hierarchy tab that we're looking at currently is probably familiar to many, if not most of you. It contains the International Vegetation Classification IVC hierarchy for Canada, the US, and Mexico, organized in a hierarchical structure. There are two key components to this training video. One is just walking through what this tab contains, and the other critical part is going over the fields where reviewers are encouraged to provide any subnation distribution updates. So that'll be the second part. So we'll start with looking at what the fields are in the hierarchy tab. In columns J to AB, this lists each of the types at the different levels of the hierarchy, starting with the highest level of class and going all the way down to association. Each level is indented according to its position in the hierarchy. All of the types have their L code and their common name, no matter what level they're at. Let me unfilter here. One moment. And when we get down to the alliance level and the association level, the two lowest levels, those will also have their scientific names. Additional information that we have on the types from biotics are the type concept summaries, the classification comments, the list of subnations where the type is listed to occur, the link to the descriptions on NatureServe Explorer, and the global rank. A critical note on the type concept summary is that with the work on groups and alliances over the last several years, we're quite a bit behind on getting descriptions for the newer revised groups and alliances. So that'll be the one area where you will see some gaps in the information there. And again, where we do have those available, you can click on the hyperlink to get to the description on NatureServe Explorer, which will come up here momentarily. It's taking a moment, but there you've got the type description. Also on the hierarchy tab, but not from biotics, we have again, here we've got the total mapped range-wide extent just for the groups, which are what's been mapped in hectares. So again, this is the range-wide extent, not the subnational mapped extent. And where the groups are mapped, we've got the links to the PDFs again. Over here on the left, there's a couple other columns that you'll likely find handy. With a hierarchical structure that we've got for the types, the L codes for each type are listed in different columns. If you want to see and filter on somehow the L codes all in one place, you'll want to use column G, the L code field. The even more critical field is this, the hierarchy level field. Normally, this workbook has macros with these buttons where you can just filter on whatever level of the hierarchy you want to see. Because we need to lock this workbook down to prevent accidental deletion or editing or rearranging of the hierarchy, these buttons will not be functional. We're leaving them in case that changes at some point. So we'll clear the filtering we did there. You can do the same type of filtering that these buttons do over in the level field in column F. The levels of the hierarchy are numbered from 1 to 8, and you'll just pick what levels you want to see. So let's just assume that you want to see the groups on up. So we'll turn off the lower levels and others. And this does the same thing as filtering on the group button. The other type of filtering that you're likely to want to use will be back over here in the subnations column. Here, you can pull out your subnation not with the standard drop-down list of all the options, but choose text filters, contains, and we'll pick Texas again. Type in Texas. So then you'll be able to see the hierarchy from group on up, and just for the types that are found in Texas. We're anticipating that as you work through your review of each of the groups that are in your subnation and figuring out where they may be overmapped and may need to be mapped as something else, you'll want to either look at other types in your subnation or region and so filter that way, or you may want to look at other types, nearby types in the hierarchy. And so again, want to have this larger context and be able to look at different parts of the hierarchy as you go through your review. The second key part of this training is to talk about recording any requested edits to the subnational distribution that's stored in biotics. As you're looking at the hierarchy, looking at the groups, potentially going through their alliances, while everyone doing this review and NatureServe have done a ton of work on the subnation distributions, you may still find fixes that you want to make. If you find that your state is not listed on a type, and we're just going to pretend here, and you want to add your state or province or territory, in that add subnations column, AQ, you just type your subnation. I want to add Texas to this type. That's it. If your subnation is listed for the type, but you don't think the type is in your subnation, you go to the delete subnations and say, I want to delete Texas from the distribution for this type. Let's say that Texas is listed for this type, but you're not really sure it's there, but you're not ready to delete it entirely. You use the modify subnation confidence field, column AS. And so you say, well, we want to put a question mark on Texas, and you do it like that. Finally, if Texas is listed as it's on this type, but we are sure, but it's currently got a question mark. Biotics thinks we're not sure. We're confident, we want to change it to confident, then we type in Texas without the question mark. Hopefully that was clear. And finally, you can make general comments on the subnational distribution here. We ask that you include your name and the date with any comments you would like to record. So this is the other key part. Again, putting any requested subnation distribution edits with the types as you're doing your review. The other thing we'll point out in this large hierarchy or in this large Excel workbook, again, there's the IVC hierarchy tab. There's all the subnation group map review status tracking tabs. That list will grow as we add the rest of the subnations. And there's two other tabs to briefly point out. One is a listing of each group's mapped extent by the level 3 EPA, the level 3 CEC ecoregions for North America. So looking at group 990, the Midwest Oak Hickory Forest, we can see that the level 3 ecoregion. It's mapped in the northern lakes and forests. That US EPA code is code 50, and it's got 8,000 acres in this ecoregion. So again, you can see the mapped extent of each group relative to the ecoregions that it intersects in here. You'll be able to filter on the group itself, upper levels of the hierarchy. You'll also be able to filter on the ecoregions of interest. We've also included the areas as both hectares and acres. And again, we've got the links to the PDFs of the group maps. Parallel to the ecoregion extent for each group, we also have a complete listing of each group's extent for each subnation. You have your own subnation extent in your own tab, but this is the comprehensive list of all the groups and their extent in all of the subnations. Same idea as the level 3 ecoregions tab. You've got basic information on the group, including the upper levels of the hierarchy. Then you've got the area in acres and hectares, and this will be hyperlinks by the time you see it, but you've got links to the PDF maps as well. Again, you can sort by the hierarchy. You can also sort by extent. And of course, you can filter on a group of subnations. So this is just another hopefully useful reference tool that we have available in the Excel workbook. So just to briefly recap on this piece of supporting materials, this video goes over the IVC hierarchy that's in the Excel workbook, and the purposes of having the hierarchy are twofold. One is to provide context as you're going through your group range map review. And then the second is to provide any updates that you may have on subnational distributions of the types that you're very familiar with. The other thing to touch on before we wrap this up is how to access this Excel workbook. Again, it's a large workbook. It's got lots of different things in it. It's going to be a single file Excel workbook on OneDrive. That OneDrive link will go out to folks via email, and that OneDrive link will be posted on the supporting materials page of the online map review tool. If you have difficulties accessing the OneDrive file, please email me, Mary Harkness, and that's Mary_Harkness@natureserve.org. Thank you again so much for taking the time to watch this and for taking the time to help us out on this critical review process.